Oh, would you look at that? It's already time for a new video. About a week late. Sorry it's been taking me so long to get to these videos. It's just, life happens. And, well, I'm a small channel. I can get away with it. But that being said, I've got a very interesting new subject for this new string of videos I'm going to be doing. Since last month, I did superheroes as my theme, and even though I only really got 3 done, I've come up with a new theme for this month, or at least the next couple of weeks, considering this month is almost over already. I'm going to be doing various legends and myths as my next project, doing the heroes and gods of old. As if that hasn't been done a million times already. History is a very big part to me, and I figured, well, this is something I know a lot about, this is something I'm really into, and, I could learn a little bit more by doing this, doing the research on the characters and things like that. You know how it is. So I'm really just feeding the fire to my own interests and addictions with this. But I hope you all enjoy this video. As always, it took a lot of time and a lot of patience, but it's something I love to do, and I'm sharing it with you all, so I hope you enjoy it too. Link will be down below for the piece that I am drawing in the DeviantArt. You can check it out there, or you can stay here and watch the process of how I made it. My dear Calico Chronicler will not be joining us this video. She is in the other room playing video games today. So maybe in the end she'll do a quick hello or something, I don't know. Anyway, on to the video. Now, today I will be drawing one of the more popular Celtic heroes, namely the Irish Celts, as those are my favorite amongst our culture, as I am a direct descendant of them. I will be doing the Irish Celtic hero Chulainn, or Chulainn, or however you want to pronounce his name. I've always pronounced it Chulainn, although different people in different counties seem to pronounce it different ways, as Ireland has its different accents and things, just as, America or Britain or any other place does. And Chulainn is an interesting hero. He's like every stereotypical character you could think of, and just kind of mix them together, while at the same time being the perfect archetype for that hero. The headstrong, determined, war-obsessed champion who wants to be the very best and is willing to do anything, including risk his own life, to accomplish that goal, which ultimately, unfortunately, is exactly what he does, albeit in a very, very interesting and sort of twist of fate way, or twist of fate, excuse me. Chulainn's story begins a really, really long time ago, and it's a very weird and kind of morbid origin story. Or I guess the story doesn't really actually begin with him. The story begins, of course, with his parents, who are a fairly wealthy lord and lady. Well, I don't know if lord and lady. They're the daughter of a chieftain and her suitor, her husband. And his mother, whose name I can't remember at this moment, she gets pregnant, and about the time she's about to give birth, a really awful snowstorm hits. And she gets very, very sick. Sick to the point that, unfortunately, when the time to give birth comes, the fetus dies. It is stillborn, I believe. But watching this noble family and how important they are to the culture and their kingdom, from the shadows, the ancient Celtic deity or god Lulum Fada, who, for those of you who don't know me very well, is one of my favorite Celtic gods, if not my favorite, absolute. Lou watches, and he feels pity for this mother who's just lost her child due to illness in this sudden storm, especially since he's a deity of, the springtime and the summer, and the warm seasons, and sunlight, and, heat, and life. So he doesn't really like the winter anyway, as I understand it, and the cold and death, and so he breathes life into this fetus, or this dead body, this baby, this infant that didn't make it, and brings it back to life, or something along those lines. I don't remember the story all too well, It's been a while since I've actually heard it. It's either he breathes life into it, or he possesses the body to an extent himself. And ultimately, the child ends up just becoming a reincarnation of him, while at the same time being his son, which is a very interesting parallel to Christianity. I've always found, and it's not the only one in Chulainn's story, but when you take into consideration, a lot of these stories were written down by Catholic monks, and so a lot of biblical perceptive was put into them, and alteration to the stories was made. You really have to take a lot of what goes on in the stories with a grain of salt, but that can be said for just about every mythology, because they've all sort of they've had that Catholic touch. And I'm not talking about the kind you get sent to prison for. I'm going to get in trouble for that one. Yeah, so there's some parallels there, but there always seem to be. Anyway, so this child comes to life. He's brought back to life by this ancient Celtic deity, this god. And so, understandably, the child becomes a little heroic and supernatural himself. And the child's name, they name him Shitantha, or Sitanta, depending on how you want to pronounce it. As I said before, the Celtic language is an absolute minefield, and trying to enunciate things correctly and pronounce them can be a bit difficult. Again, this also depends on like what county you're in and what dialect you're speaking. But anyway, Shitantha just grows up to be an absolute beast of a child. He's really skilled at warfare, really, really adaptive to situations. He learns everything he's taught relatively quickly, which is a bit of a trouble for his parents, because they don't, at a very, very young age, you don't want your child going out and getting hurt, especially practicing like war games and things, which in Celtic society, children started practicing for war at a very, very young age, because the culture itself, as most of these Indo-European Aryan countries were, they started practicing warfare at a young age because they were built on warfare. Like, that was their main obsession. Kill or be killed. Anyway, so understandably, they're a little worried that their little, 6-year-old, 5-year-old kid is going to get hurt. But at that young age, actually I think he might have been about 7. Either way, that's really, really young. He goes out to where a lot of the older boys train. And these would have been like preteen, teenage boys, practicing war games and strategies and tactics and things. And he goes out there at 7 years old and just destroys every single one of them. Like, he whoops their ass, and they realize, well, maybe this kid is a little better at warfare than we thought. So, after a couple of years of letting him train, do some workouts, he then wants to go off and join the court of King Conchobar, who's in Ulster. I don't remember if he's actually the king or the chieftain, but either way, he wants to go join him. His parents are like, well, we don't really want you to, but you've got all this great skill, so we trust you, but, be very, very careful, because there's a giant, guard dog that guards Ulster, and if it catches you, it's going to rip you apart. Like, even as badass as you are, you don't stand much of a chance. Which turns out not to be true, because he goes to Ulster. He goes to join Conchobar's court and become one of his warriors. And sure enough, this guard dog comes barreling after him. And supposedly with a hurley stick, a hurley stick, for those of you who don't know, it's kind of like a really ancient version of like a golf club. It's a very old Celtic sport. It's kind of like golf or lacrosse or any of those stick and ball type of sports. And with the stick, he just clobbers this giant, demonic, hound. Just whoops its ass. Unbeknownst to him, though, well, I guess it was known to him, actually, excuse me. The owner of the dog, a man named Chulainn, comes out, and he's the one who's supposed to take care of this guard dog of Ulster. He's like, well, now who's going to protect Ulster? This guard dog was our main defense, and you just destroyed it, which is impressive, but it's really bad. So, on agreement that he gets to join Conchobar's court and be one of his warriors, he offers to become the new guard dog, quote-unquote, of Ulster, until a replacement can be found, and that's how he earns the name Chulainn, which means the Hound of Chulainn, or Chulainn's Hound. And so that's what he goes by from then on. And that's the origin of the name and the hero. And there are so many legends about this guy. There are so many stories. The tamed Coolie is probably the main myth, the main legend of his that everybody likes to talk about, which is the cattle raid of Cooley, where Queen Mav invades Ulster in order to steal a cow, which doesn't seem all that impressive till you hear the actual story, which I might elaborate on in a later video, but I don't really have time to go over that entire story. Because it's a pretty long story, and a lot of really badass shit happens, and Chulainn basically turns into the Hulk and like destroys half an army. There's a lot of battles. He fights the Morrigan, who's a very common and popular Celtic goddess, the goddess of war, in fact, ironically, and he just absolutely whips her ass. It's not the first time or the last time he has any kind of encounter with her. This one just so happens to be like the most violent one. And Chulainn's story really is just a really interesting, long, and kind of sad myth too, because he loses a lot of the people he loves. There's one myth where he doesn't know that he has a son, and the son comes to see him, but his son won't give him his name or identify himself or why he's intruding on the territory of Ulster. So they get in a fight, and he kills his son. He doesn't realize it till after, and he gets real upset and torn up about it, as you know any man would. And you know, it's just stuff like that. There's a lot of stories like that in his mythology, and it's heartbreaking, or it can be, I guess. You know, such a warrior who goes to do such great things, but at the same time deals with such hardships and pain. But you know, that's one of the things about being a hero too in any story, is loss and suffering are an occupational hazard. Especially since he dies so young in order to become like a great hero, because there's like a legend or something that if you go and fight on this day, your name will be passed down for generations, you'll be renowned forever, but you'll die very young, and that's ultimately what happens. But I'll elaborate more on that at a later date. For now, I'm just doing the picture. And I'm leaving out a little bit of detail because there was a lot that went into this, and I never show like the shading or the fading that I do, because that's all it is, shading and fading for like the eyes or like the textures or things, so it's not that interesting. Mostly I'm just showing you like the line art, getting it all out there so you can see it. And there he is in all his glorious Celtic magnificence. Chulainn, ladies and gentlemen. And there you have it, my first of the mythology collection, or religion collection, depending on what faith you follow, because there are individuals who do still follow these ancient religions, such as Celtic, Druidism, or Egyptian, and things like that. There are still people today. There's actually been a very large increase in people following or starting to adhere to Norse mythology again, which I think is interesting. I mean, I'm a Christian myself, so it's not necessarily a good thing that I see that happening, but at the same time, this is my culture. I'm like, well, it's good that people are learning about it, and because people have been trying to wipe out our cultures for thousands of years, so it's good that people are learning about it again and being educated. So you take what you can get, you know. There's some of it's good, some of it's, you know, not agreeable, but that's my opinion. Anyway, thank you for watching this video, guys. Link in the description to see the finished piece in DeviantArt. If you want, of course, there's a sticker this week in my Teespring that you can buy, along with a bunch of other things from my various comics and other works. You know, it's just a silly sticker. You don't need to buy it, but it helps me do what I love, and well, I'm gonna do it anyway if you don't, so anyway, thanks for watching. I'll try to get another video up in the next following week, depending on how productive I am. I've got family in town, and they're going to be staying for a while, so I get kind of distracted. But over my weekends, there's more or less little excuse not to get these done, so I'm going to try and get it up in the next week. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.